Friends, colleagues, the people at home. One Sunday morning a couple months ago, my phone lit up with my weekly screen time report. I always cringe a little bit when I see this, but I looked at it, and I saw that I averaged 2 hours and 45 minutes a day on my phone that week. But this time, unlike the others, I decided to face my weaknesses head on, and I tapped into the report to see where I'd spent part of my life that week. I don't recommend doing this at all. I looked at my most used app, Instagram, and I spent 5 hours on this platform alone. And then, being me, I started to calculate. If I live to be 80, and I give myself like 12 hours a day to sleep and eat and do life things, and I continue to spend 5 hours a week on Instagram, until I'm 80, I will have spent 3 hours of my life, back up 3 years of my life on this app alone. Just scrolling through other people's perfect versions of their own lives. After I fell into and promptly shook myself out of a minor existential crisis, I took a step back to assess myself. And I realized it's true. I've turned into a habitual phone checker. Even at stoplights, when my brain realizes it's doing nothing at all, I instinctively reach for my phone. And I started to wonder about this reflex in us as humans, in kind of a concerned, are we all doomed kind of way. You know, the typical dramatic Erin stuff. And while I was going through all of this, I did what anyone would. I checked Instagram. Duh. And I saw that this book that Crimmins had just shared, I asked to borrow it, and in it I found some stuff that verified my unfolding personal crisis. It said that new technologies are massively changing how we live in unexpected and unplanned ways. They've expanded beyond a minor role, causing this general unease and sense of losing control to attention economy conglomerates, aka social media platforms and all that stuff in your phone that's designed to pull you back in over and over again. When we have a free moment, we grab our phones. It's like this subconscious tick. But it's because we're social creatures. We crave connection, and we fear loneliness. When we realize we're lonely, our stress hormones elevate, or our cortisol levels, sending us into something akin to a fight or flight response. When we're connecting with others, we feel less stressed. Our cortisol levels balance out, and we produce more dopamine when we're with other people. So it's no wonder we reach for our phones when we feel alone. It's how we feel a little more connected, even in kind of a simulated fashion. So it's kind of just become another part of being human. But what if we were more intentional about our downtime? Which is what I want to talk about today. It's a big shocker. If you know me, you know I value me time. And if you know me well, you know of a little thing that I call Erin Days. They're days or hours that I plan for myself to do whatever makes my heart happy. And because I plan these days intentionally, I really look forward to that time alone. I get a lot out of them. They make me feel more connected to myself, and without fail, I walk away from them feeling more restored. Carving out time was actually something that my therapist suggested to me too. Research shows that prioritizing ourselves restores our sense of self and boosts our sense of self-worth. And downtime can also be hugely beneficial for our creative selves, which is us. In the book The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron introduces the idea of artist dates. It's a block of time set aside and committed to nurturing our creative consciousness or our inner artist. It's an excursion or a solo play date that you pre-plan and defend against all interlopers. It's time for us to explore, discover, and listen to our inner artists. I don't know about you, but I find that I do some of my best problem solving in the moments where my mind has space and time to roam, to come in and out of a problem, and to explore it from various angles. I really like this quote by Nikola Tesla, and I think it sums up the importance of this time for our creative selves nicely. It reads, "The mind is sharper and keener in seclusion and uninterrupted solitude. No big laboratory is needed in which to think. Originality thrives in seclusion, free of outside influences beating upon us to cripple the creative mind. Be alone. That is the secret of invention. Be alone. That is when ideas are born. That is why many of the earthly miracles have had their genesis in humble surroundings. That's nice. But beyond the research and the quotes, I kind of want to share an experience of my own with intentional downtime. I don't know, but what do you guys think? Do you want to? Are you going to hear? You? Okay. I wasn't expecting it, but. Around this time last year, a good portion of my life path was crumbling beneath me. I was engaged to the wrong person, and I was privately very unsettled. And to find balance, I entered into an intense period of intentional downtime. I was writing poetry every day, I was meditating, I was practicing yoga regularly, I was doing activities just for myself, saying no to things that didn't excite me, and spending more quality time with myself than I had maybe ever. So instead of staying in this constant state of distraction, I stripped distraction away, and I returned to myself, I listened to myself, and learned to be patient with myself. And during that time, I wrote this poem, as I do. I do want to caveat, I'm not sharing it because it's a mind-blowing poem by any means, but it's telling of the place that I reached mentally during this time. It's called The Awakening. I know this feeling when the bird songs trill lighter, and even the forgotten alleyways become secret garden paths. I know this feeling. I'm falling in love with myself. At the time, I was experiencing such heightened moments of self-discovery and self-actualization that one afternoon while I was driving home, I think from a yoga class, I had an urge to yell out my window, like the happy kind of yell, like they do in the movies. And so I rolled down my window and I yelled. It was like a hugely stressful time, but I'd never in my life felt so connected to myself. And I have to attribute this enlightenment to how intentional I was being with my downtime. 1 month and 1 week after writing this poem, I left my then fiance. Pause for applause. According to Cal Newport, the author of Digital Minimalism, regular doses of solitude, defined as freedom from input and other minds, bring insight and emotional balance that comes from unhurried self-reflection. Downtime can be so powerful when we use it well. So I want to arm you now with some action steps that'll help you turn downtime into time that feeds your soul. While I was making this list, I looked at a lot of other lists and saw a lot of tips that I myself would have a hard time sticking to. So instead I made you a custom Erin list with 5 tips that work for me. 1 is set healthy boundaries with your phone. I'm convinced our phones are our biggest adversary when it comes to time spent well. So try turning it on airplane mode when you go on a walk, when you're getting creative, or when you're meeting a friend, or try checking it at specific time increments throughout the day so its notifications aren't constantly pulling you back in. When you come to a moment where you find yourself reaching for your phone, instead pause, put it down, and ask yourself why. Use the time instead to check in with yourself. I was alone on a recent Saturday night, another Erin story, and I started to feel a little unsettled because it was, Saturday night and I was alone and cortisol levels. And I almost texted a friend to hang out, but then I stopped and thought about it. And I realized I didn't necessarily want to do anything. In fact, I kind of wanted to be asleep within 2 hours. I just wanted to get rid of this lonely feeling that I had bubbling up inside of me. But I put down my phone and worked instead on changing my mindset around this Saturday night alone. And once I embraced it, I was able to settle in and feel more in tune with myself. 3, opt for something more worthwhile. When you come to a lonely moment in your day, avoid the reflex to fill that moment with social media or a time-wasting thing. Instead, try doing something that means something to you, something that grows you or fulfills you or helps you restore your sense of self-worth. even if it's just decompressing or letting your mind wander for a little bit. Set healthy personal boundaries. Try saying no to plans sometimes, especially if they don't excite you. Avoid the itch to fill every minute with a to-do or with someone or with something else. And leave or make room in your day to just let yourself be. Which brings me to number 5. Schedule time for yourself. Actually schedule it. Like you would schedule a date with a friend or a significant other. And put it on your calendar, so when the evening comes, you're less likely to just switch on the TV. Maybe plan something that makes you a little bit excited, and let yourself build a sense of anticipation for that time. I think that to be able to just be with yourself in this life without a sense of sadness or incompleteness seeping in through the edges, to be able to sit with yourself and enjoy your company and even indulge in it, is one of the most fulfilling feelings. So go find some time on your calendar where you could fit in some time with yourself. And ask yourself on a date soon. Plan it, anticipate it, be present in it, and enjoy it. You may find that you time is just the thing that you've been needing.